Hello, beautiful souls. Okay, I'm just here to do a quick little live to invite you to join me if you want, on Saturday, this coming Saturday, December 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for a masterclass about the New Age false light deception. So I already did a free, there's a free episode on my podcast that came out on October 14th called the New Age False Light Deception. Hi, everybody who has joined. So if you want to hear about it there, you can check it out there. This masterclass is $44, but it's lifetime access. You know, there's a recording. Everybody gets a copy of the recording. Because since I recorded it for my podcast, I've been receiving increasing understanding and increasing information into my field to help me see the subtle but very significant deceptions that are laced into the New Age. And I've been really processing it behind the scenes with the desire to share it with everybody who's ready for it so that we don't get stuck in these places and these sort of like eddies of false light. These kind of essentially they're like dead ends. So I'm going to be talking about it at length, and on my podcast, I did not drop any names. I didn't use any examples because I feel like that's just really bad form to do that kind of thing. But in this masterclass, I am going to be using examples, not to character assassinate anyone. That's not what I'm about. These are people I've never met. I'm not talking about their motivations or like who they are, anything like that. But I want to use some examples so I can show you what things are alerting my red flags and what things are, prompting me to look beyond, some of these methods or some of these individuals or some of these messages and use higher discernment. So that's really my intention for this masterclass, is to help us cultivate even deeper levels of discernment. Personally, I'm feeling a shift in the energy. I'm always feeling shifts in the energy, but the shift I'm currently feeling in the energy towards 2023 is, it feels like 2023 is going to be a highly polarizing year. And ultimately that's a good thing, but it's also going to be probably pretty intense. And one of the ways that we can best navigate it is to cultivate our own sense of authority, meaning we are no longer outsourcing to other online personalities. Like, don't even outsource to me. We're not outsourcing to other people as having some greater access to the truth than what we have, but we are learning how to discern our own truth. And so we can engage with other people's content in a way that we don't have to be afraid of it. And we don't have to totally reject it. We don't have to get really superstitious about it, but we can feel whether this actually enhances our own perspective or not. But we're not deferring our truth to somebody else who appears more confident in their interpretation of things, and makes us think that they have like some kind of inside access that we don't. You know what I mean? It's kind of basically like we're having the archetype of the guru being dissolved, the archetype of the guru, the archetype of the expert, the archetype of the authority. And if we're not prepared for that, it can feel very destabilizing, very, very, very destabilizing, because if you think about it, we've been heavily programmed since our childhoods to believe in authority, to defer to authority through mainly the education system, but also like our whole entire social structure is built on this kind of bullshit where there is an authority and we have to sort of like bend the knee and defer to it. So it's very, very programmed into our psyches to always think that somebody else has the answers or has they're sanctioned to give us the orders or whatever, and we do this in our entertainment culture as well. Like, certainly we do this in celebrity culture. I'm I'm pretty sure that if you're watching me on this live, if you listen to my podcast, if you dig my stuff, you probably are not the kind of person that obsesses over the Kardashians or whatever. Maybe you are. No judgment. I love you. Come as you are. But probably most of us in my community don't just automatically, offer our sacrifices to the golden cow of celebrity. But sometimes we do that with like online, like YouTube celebrity or online Instagram celebrity or whatever, like smaller, lower key, like non-Hollywood celebrity. We have our favorite people that we love to listen to, content creators, that we go to them to hear their interpretation of things, or we go to them to hear, like, even, I do energy reports. I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot because I'm talking about what I literally do, but I do weekly energy reports for my Patreon group and monthly energy reports for whoever listens or watches. So I'm not trying to discourage people from doing that or trying to discourage people from listening to that. But what I feel coming in 2023 is the dissolving of the need to listen to those things to supplant our own experience of what's happening, our own interpretation of what's going on. And in order to prepare for that, because it's a huge, huge level of responsibility. I mean, I feel it myself. I can show up here speaking confidently to all of you and tell you this is what I think and this is how I feel and blah, 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 blah. But I also have my own, people or channels, methods, whatever, that I kind of tend to go to and unawarely give my authority to. So I can sort of feel this dissolving preemptively now, and I can feel that really the antidote, or the thing that we're being guided to cultivate in order to be able to navigate this with grace and take on this new layer of responsibility, that ultimately, like, the whole reason we would want to accept a new level of responsibility is because that also allows us to accept a new level of our power and our creatorship. So the thing that we are being guided to is an enhanced level of discernment. Because my intention with this masterclass is definitely not to fearmonger or make people, like, give them a spiritual identity crisis or make you second guess everything that you ever thought or believed, because that's super uncomfortable. But the truth is that there is a lot of deception in the new age. And I mean, I don't just mean deception like a little bit of like, oh yeah, like, there's some things that people have gotten wrong or some misinterpretations. There's definitely that. But there is straight up satanic, but mainly Luciferian deception in the new age. And it's really important that we be able to see it. Because, for example, I don't know if this applies to any of you. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As I said, no judgment. I love you as you are. But I personally know people who make decisions, important decisions, based on YouTube pick-a-card tarot readings. And that's just one example. There are a lot of us who have come into spirituality through the new age because we have a ton of religious trauma, but we still want to acknowledge the presence and the experience of spirit, of something divine. So we've come in through the new age, and there are a ton of modalities, not just that kind of like pick a card tarot stuff, that cause us to, first of all, offer our very powerful attention and our very powerful loosh energy to things. I don't know. I'm sorry. I know this is not as super concise. I just spontaneously hopped on because I had a little bit of time. Hair's a mess and everything, but whatever. There are these things in the new age that are designed to harvest our energy, okay? And make us think that we are progressing spiritually, that we're getting somewhere. Make us think that we're a part of something really important. And we are. Like, I'm not changing my tune insofar as we're definitely part of something important. We are doing our own, like, personal, individual, tiny, yet very, very significant contribution, effort towards this bigger, important thing that we're experiencing together. But there are all these little insidious, sparkly traps and pitfalls in the new age that are designed to harvest this energy that we have of wanting to have good intentions, of wanting to be part of something bigger than us, wanting to identify ourselves in a certain way so that, in this crazy fucked up world where, it's increasingly like an insane clown world, and we go through these spiritual awakenings and we feel very lost and we feel very confused about who we are. If you've listened to my podcast, you know all about my story about how alienated I felt for the first, basically all of my 20s and like half of my 30s, and how, we're looking to identify ourselves in a certain way. We're looking to define ourselves in a certain way. We're searching for the thing that helps us make sense of ourselves as we struggle with not being able to make sense of the insanity of this world. And they're hidden in the new age are all these little things that we can latch onto that are actually energy harvesters. And they are also designed to get us stuck there so that we do not keep evolving in the direction that we are designed to evolve in, but we start evolving like off course. So it's kind of like, if you imagine it like, say you're an airplane. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. So maybe if you're listening and you're a pilot and you're like, she's totally wrong about this, please forgive me. But say you're a pilot and you're in an airplane and you have a destination, and the destination has coordinates. And so you set all your things up so that you are going to fly and you're going to reach that destination in the most efficient way possible. And we know that nothing in this life is a linear journey, right? So it's not going to be linear. It's going to be like here and there and whatever, but you're always honing into that destination. There are things in the new age that cause us to micro adjust the coordinates of our destination by decimal points, which you would think is not a big deal. But it is a big deal because ultimately it leads us off course. And again, this isn't a linear thing, but a tiny decimal point micro adjustment at the time that it's made, course correction at the time that it's made, won't really make a big difference. It's like a tiny veering off by that much. But when you follow the whole entire journey, the distance grows farther and farther. You know what I mean? So it is a big deal, and we do have to be aware of these things. For a long time, I wasn't aware of them myself. If you want to listen to the free version, the free long-ass rambly version, you can check it out on my podcast from the October 14th episode called The New Age False Light Deception. But since then, I've been marinating in this a lot, and it's like a layer of gauze has been removed from my eyes, and I can see things with so much clarity, so much more clarity. And I can see some of the places that we are potentially A, getting kind of lost or stuck, but B, more importantly, I think where we're getting siphoned off of, where a lot of our energy is being kind of harvested, looshed away from us, and yet it feels kind of good while it's happening, so we don't notice it. It doesn't set off our alarm bells right away because the thing we're getting in exchange feels good, if that makes sense. Ultimately, kind of one of the personal revelations that I experienced in November was a much deeper realization of the degree of the evil that exists here in this realm. I knew there was evil. Like, I don't really know how to explain it because it's not like I learned anything new. I knew that there was evil, but for whatever reason, I was able to acknowledge it much more deeply. Like, even if you were to listen to something that I had recorded like probably a year ago, you would hear me talking about in a slightly spiritual bypassy way, which I don't really feel like I was spiritual bypassing. I just honestly think that I wasn't ready to see it at the level that I'm able to see it now. But I was talking about how, this is all like, this is a dream of the collective dreaming mind. And at a certain level, these things don't matter. But at the level that we're alive here, they do matter. So it's kind of like, it's both. It matters and it doesn't matter. And all of that I think is still true. But even within the New Age, there is a deceptive sort of, what's it called? It's like an enchantment that wants to pull us in the direction of those kind of platitudes of like, at a certain level, it doesn't matter. And that's just fucking like, even if that's true, it's fucking also true that at a certain level, the stakes are really high. And this really, really, really matters. It really matters a lot. And there are extremely dark forces. And we are moving closer and closer, marching all the time, closer and closer into what ultimately feels like a spiritual battle, a very, very significant one. And again, like, this isn't really news to anyone. It's not even news to me, but for whatever reason, I can see it with greater clarity now. And I can see what is at stake. And I can see the way that so many of us who have come in here to fight this fucking battle and like step up and do it and represent the light, how many of us are being hijacked off of the path of the fulfillment of that incarnation intention, but unknowingly, because we're getting fed false information, which is of course braided with the truth so that it doesn't completely, set off all of our bullshit detectors. And again, it feels good. Like we get fed these kind of ideas or these modalities or whatever, these concepts that are mostly true, but in a very important way, they're not true. They're a lie. They are deceptive. And so we're here thinking that we're doing all this work, we're being part of the light, we're doing like all the things. And actually it's almost like we're having our skills taken away from us. I don't know what analogy to use without also being like super dramatic and making this sound, like kind of scary. Like I said, I really don't, my intention is to be empowering, not fear-mongering. But yeah, it's like, basically, it's sort of like they're, the ones, the Luciferian ones who are behind all this deception, they are the ones that have come in to start training us through the New Age. And they're taking away our actual weaponry and our actual armor, and they're handing us toy swords. They're handing us a wooden shield. And we're preparing to go into battle, and we're completely trusting these trainers who are setting us up to die on the front lines. And when I say die, I'm not talking about your physical mortal body. I mean, in this life, we're all going to die. So I'm not denying that that's going to happen. But I'm speaking in analogy. I'm saying, like, in the sense of these battles that we are rapidly approaching. Like, I honest to God feel like 2023 is going to be like, wow, a firecracker of a year. In these battles that we are approaching, it's like we've been hypnotized. They're hypnotizing us. And then they're like, here, let me take your actual badass sword that is sharp as shit and like was created for you and is like synced up to you and every bit of magic that you have. And let me give you a wooden blunt sword in exchange, but you're under hypnosis because the things we're telling you about yourself feel really good. And so you're like, oh, I feel placated by these things that I'm learning through the New Age. And it's leaving us, I wouldn't say defenseless. Like, I think ultimately the light wins. I really do. I honestly believe that The light just, it trumps the darkness. Absolutely, 100%. But there is a false light. There is a false light. And I think we deserve to know what's going on. So what else did I want to say about this? Oh yeah, it also really matters because as I was saying with that analogy about, people making their choices based on pick a card on tarot, that's a really, really, on YouTube, that's a really very blatant example of the way that this information is totally affecting us on a daily basis. But even if you're listening to me and you're like, oh, well, I don't do that. It's totally fine. It's still affecting your worldview, your whole worldview, in a way that we have not been encouraged to critically analyze. If we've seen anything through the Rovid era of these last 3 years, it is the importance of critical analysis, even when it's uncomfortable, to take inventory of the shit that we believe and where this information has come from and what the actual agenda behind it might be. And to my intention isn't, again, like I said, we're dissolving authority. So my intention is not to supplant your truth with my truth. It is to invite you to join me as we look more critically at these belief systems that we have participated in, that, where do they come from? Where were they seeded from? Why have we been fed this information? What is the benefit? Who does it benefit ultimately? And just come to your own conclusions. But a lot of us are making our decisions based on a worldview around, that is kind of fostered by the whole New Age movement, that I think at very least deserves a closer examination, at very, very least. And then I think I said something when I was kind of riffing and ranting to my my online business manager, Mari. I was talking about, learning how to, this is something I'm very passionate about. And if you recently joined into the Akasha, expect to get an earful about this in one of the upcoming live modules in January. But I'm very, very passionate about really figuring out what fields of consciousness we are opening up to. If you consider that you are a channel, or if you and by the way, in a way, you're a channel if you work with oracle cards, tarot cards, runes, certainly fucking Ouija boards. Don't even mess with that shit. But any method of divination, pendulum, anything, any method of divination. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that you are engaging with a field of consciousness, if not entities. So a field of consciousness to me is it's not a distinct entity. It is a whole field, the same way that the human collective consciousness is a field, and then we as individuals are distinct. So if you're doing any of those methods of divination, channeled writing, automatic writing, any of that kind of stuff, any psychic development, which I obviously have been teaching, you're accessing non-physical fields of consciousness and or entities, good or bad. And it's really, 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 really important that we develop the ability to discern who we're contacting, what we are in connection with, and what level that, that field of consciousness or that entity ultimately serves, just so we can get a more complete framework of this whole reality that we're engaging with, right? And so my goal is to invite anybody who wants to join to stop. I think I said something like, stop Tinder-dating a bunch of random entities. Stop just flicking through entities and taking it at face value. It's I've never been on Tinder, but I have a friend that goes on it all the time. And she shows me all the guys that she's checking out. So what I gather from Tinder and all of all the similar apps is that you put a picture and you put all the, the things, answer the questions and give a little summary about yourself. And it may be true or it may not. And the person doesn't find out until they meet you, right? So that's what I mean. Like, let's stop dating like random entities off of Tinder that present something that tell us, oh, like I am your grandmother that passed away, or I am your spirit guide, or I am Isis, or whatever the fuck they know that we will fall for. And then we just start engaging with them and open ourselves up to basically like shit that we're not really prepared for. And I apply this to myself too, where I'm kind of going through something where I'm like, whoa, I have been protected as shit. And even like, I definitely had practices in place for discernment, but I'm seeing like, because we were in spiritual boot camp and we're moving out of spiritual boot camp and we're moving into like the real fucking deal. And, you know, so what worked in theory in boot camp, like we just have to upgrade our level of discernment. I have to upgrade my level of discernment, which I've been working on over the past month and a half. So I would love to invite you to listen to, I promise it'll be more concise than this because I'm actually preparing. I have notes. I'm organizing my thoughts in advance. But I'm inviting you to join me in this masterclass if you want to. If you don't have $44 to spend, or if you just don't want to spend the money, then as I said, listen to the October 14th episode of the podcast called The New Age False Light Deception. But this is going to be much more in depth. And also, as I said, I'm going to use some examples because there are people out there. It's not my intention to like hate on anyone or character assassinate anyone, but there are people out there who, when I see them, I get angry because I'm like, I see the deception. I see it and it's gross. It's not cool. And I would love to show you like how I see it, what I see. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I'm going to go quickly read the comments and see, because I see a couple people have said a couple things. The social media algorithms are specifically designed to distract and harvest our intentions and plans to keep us distracted so that our magic gets put into the wrong things as to keep us busy with nonsense. 100% Earth to Atom. 100%. And if you think that and again, I'm not judging you because technically I'm coming from the New Age. I'm not judging you. I just see it with clarity now more than I did a year ago. But if you think that all the New Age Instagram accounts that you follow are not fucking hijacking your consciousness, you're wrong. And I'm also not saying that all of the content creators in the New Age are like members of the Illuminati that are here to, like fuck with our minds. I'm not saying that at all. I think it's a very, very, very well-designed trap to ensnare a lot of us, and so that we don't even realize we're ensnared. We just think we're doing good in the world. We think that like this is all great and like it's all hunky-dory. And again, like I leave it ultimately, I'll just present my case of what I see and leave it up to you to decide. And you can leave the masterclass and be like, she's full of shit. And that's totally fine. Like be at peace on your journey. I fucking love you no matter what. But the way I see it is a very big deceptive web. And there are truths in there, right? That's what calls us in, is there are truths in there. But every truth is like woven in with, what do they say? It's like 9 truths and 1 lie. I kind of think it's the other way around in the New Age. I think it's like there are truths, there are some pure truths, and then every other truth is distorted. Just a little bit. Like I said, it's just a little bit of distortion, but that's what makes it so effective and so insidious. And so there are a lot of us that are creating content from a New Age framework and having no idea that we are contributing to the ensnarement of all of our fellow fucking powerful ass beings of light. See what else anybody said. Oh, thanks. I'm assuming that's May or somebody who was talking about the podcast episode. Soul Experience QHHT says, yes, I see these dark forces all the time. They try to stop sessions sometimes when I have clients. Totally, it's real. It's real. Like, they are real. So true. Fear is the one thing that holds us back. Okay. I think that's all the comments. All right, great. Well, I love you all. I hope that some of you will join me. As I said, people ask this question pretty much every time I ever run anything. Will there be a replay? And there always will be a replay, because I totally get it. Between all of the time zones and all of people's like busy lives and busy schedules, I definitely don't expect everybody to show up live. So there'll always be a replay, and it will always be lifetime access. So yeah, I think that's it. I love you. Ultimately, I feel like, the last 3 years have been a boot camp, a preparation. And I feel like we're about to be deployed into like the real. And so the stakes are getting high, and it's not just fun and games, and it's not just love and light. And that we really, it behooves us to go in to this stuff prepared. So, okay, that's it. I will stop rambling. I love you all. Thank you for joining me. Mwah. And I hope to see you there, or to see you somewhere sometime.